I kicked my bridesmaid out over a tiny slit, so I'm getting married in about 3 months, and I never imagined that choosing bridesmaids' dresses would be more emotionally draining than finding my own wedding gown. I had this entire Pinterest-worthy vision in my head. Deep emerald green, timeless, elegant, coordinated. I didn't want sequins or anything flashy, just something all the girls could look beautiful and classy in. I thought I was being pretty reasonable. There are 5 bridesmaids in total. My sister Katie, my childhood best friend Alina, my 2 cousins, and Marissa, who I met in college. Marissa and I used to be super close. We lived together sophomore year and bonded over breakups and boxed wine, but she's always been a bit sensitive. Still, I figured that by now we'd all be mature enough to get through something as simple as dress shopping. Last Sunday, I invited them all to my apartment. I had wine, charcuterie, a whole vibe. I even got mini candles as little gifts. We were all supposed to scroll through dresses together, give opinions, and maybe order some samples. I'd spent hours curating a Pinterest board with 25 solid options. I was honestly excited. Everyone was chatting, sipping rosé, complimenting each other. Then I opened the laptop and showed the first dress. It was a velvet emerald green off-the-shoulder gown. Floor length, flattering, and not clingy, but definitely fitted enough to look elegant. Everyone smiled. Marissa tilted her head and said, "I don't like how it hugs the hips. That'll make me look wide." Okay, fair. We moved on. The next one was a flowy A-line chiffon dress with a high neckline and delicate cap sleeves. I personally thought it was super romantic. Marissa said the sleeves made her arms look short and stumpy, and the neckline emphasized her angular jaw. I tried not to react. Dress 3, a midi lace dress with a cute sweetheart neckline. She called it itchy looking, and said lace made her feel like a grandmother. I even offered to find a version in soft tulle instead of lace. She waved it off. This went on for 8 more dresses. There was one she rejected because it had a slit right above the ankle, and she didn't want her veins showing. Another had sheer sleeves, and she said sheer fabric made her arms look like sausages in plastic wrap. One strapless gown was immediately vetoed because people would stare at her chest. Even a simple wrap dress with a belt was apparently dangerous because she was prone to bloating and didn't want to look pregnant. My sister was side-eyeing me like, "Are you seeing this?" And my cousin Anna was pretending to scroll on her phone just to escape the awkwardness. The entire mood had shifted. I was trying to smile and keep it together, but it felt like a therapy session where every dress was triggering a new body image trauma. Finally, I showed what I thought was the ultimate compromise. It was a floor-length flowy gown with long chiffon sleeves, a very modest round neckline, high back, and 0 cling. The only slightly risky element was a small, maybe 6-inch slit on one side that stopped well below the knee. I'd picked it because it was stunning, classic, and, most importantly, accommodating. Marissa stared at it for 2 seconds and said, "That slit feels too provocative. I don't want to look like I'm going clubbing at a wedding." And that was it. That was the moment I just lost the last drop of patience I had. I closed the laptop slowly and said we'd figure it out later. Everyone stood up to grab their bags, and while the others chatted by the door, I pulled Marissa aside into the kitchen. I told her, gently at first, that I didn't think she was a good fit for the bridal party anymore. I said I had tried really hard to meet her halfway, but it felt like no dress would ever be acceptable. What should have been a fun part of planning was becoming this emotional tug of war, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Her face crumpled instantly. She asked if I was kicking her out because of her body. She said I was punishing her for being self-aware and accused me of prioritizing aesthetics over friendship. I didn't even know how to respond to that. I reminded her that I tried to accommodate every concern, but it felt like she wanted total control. She left without saying goodbye to anyone. That night, she posted one of those vague Instagram stories with white text on a black screen. Funny how people claim to love you until you're inconvenient. No names, but we all knew. Since then, she hasn't reached out. I keep thinking maybe I overreacted, but then I remember the hours we spent combing through dresses, only for her to find a new problem with each one. I remember how the other girls stopped talking and looked uncomfortable every time she opened her mouth. I didn't want to cut her out, but I needed peace.